Dr. Mbako joins us now to give us a run-through of the bank's financial performance.
We went to market this morning with a profit that is 28% up. Just maybe to start there, what is driving our profitability? And for the 6 months that we were reviewing today, there are two things. The first thing is that, first and foremost, is that our costs are growing slower than the growth in our revenue lines. And the second thing is that our volumes have grown tremendously. These are volumes on our transact business. These are volumes on our lend business. So those two things really are what is driving our profitability up. So just to get into a bit of detail in there, we've got obviously two lines of income. We've got our interest income, and then we've got our non-interest income. So you will notice that our balance sheet on the client side went up 12% year on year. This basically means that we lent more money, much more than we did in the previous year. And then on the transact business, we also saw all lines of our businesses growing. So that obviously means volumes. Volumes basically mean more transactions. But this basically also translates from the growth in our client base. More clients means more accounts. More accounts means more transactions. Even when you look at some of our flagship products like the e-wallet, the growth there is also tremendous. We reported a very significant growth in volumes as well as in ticket sizes. The Cash Plus offering, this is through our agency banking initiative. We are all over the country. We saw volumes growing by as high as 41%.
The income statement posits that total expenses grew 16%, mainly driven by a 15% growth in employee costs as the bank continues to revamp its employee value proposition. With the bank advocating for and actually adopting a hybrid work environment, would that not have helped costs? Perhaps you could clarify what that opening statement means.
Your question is spot on. So what you would realize is that, first of all, there's a low base effect in our numbers. So when you look at the 6 months to 31st December 2023 and you compare them to 6 months to 31st December 2022, you will see that the business operations were not really the same. In the last year, we were actually emerging. The business was on a recovery mode. So the expenditure was sort of ramping up slowly when the economy itself was recovering from the COVID days. Whereas in the current period, we were at full force throughout the 6 months. So there is that low base effect on it. So that is the first thing that I just want to point out insofar as the double-digit growth on our cost base is concerned. Working from home arrangements, obviously this costs money. So obviously coming out of COVID, what we have also decided to do is that we have decided to then take learnings and infuse them in our BAU steady state operations. So what does this mean? This basically means that we are investing more to facilitate employees to work not only from home, by the way, but from other alternative locations other than traditional office. So that costs money. So it doesn't necessarily translate into a cheaper cost base. But over time, obviously, when the benefits consolidate, that's when you start realizing some of those efficiencies. We have also invested, and as we had to, in technology. This is something that for us is a mainstay. We will continue to put money into technology as we do product refreshes, as we look into new products. For instance, I just spoke of eWallet Pro, which we introduced specifically to fill in the void that was left by the discontinuation of checks.
What is the bank's intention moving forward, or perhaps even for the next 6 months or the remainder of the financial year, but taking into consideration issues that still threaten economic stability? These are issues that affect not only our country, but the world at large.
Customer experience will remain at the top of what we do, just as employee experience. So obviously we get these two levers right. Everything else becomes a product of that. What does this mean for us now operationally as a business? It basically means that we continue to invest in the right areas of the business. We continue to invest in client convenience. We continue to migrate clients from traditional sources into the newer forms of doing business. We continue to refresh our products to appeal in the modern day customer. We continue to relook at our channels and make them more sleek and more, we make them more conveniently accessible to clients. And all this obviously with in the long run translates into a lower cost base or a more cost effective way of doing business. We have also looked at our capital positions. We have looked at and we continually do so anyway, we look at our liquidity positions. And we always operate within thresholds that can actually absorb shocks. And I think we have seen during COVID times, obviously the bank had to absorb lots of shocks. And this is basically our outlook. We do obviously stress test our books from time to time. We stress test our capital positions from time to time. We stress test our liquidity from time to time. And we do have a view in terms of what's the worst scenario. That was the worst case scenario that can land on us or that we can land into. And we just make sure at any given point in time we are comfortable to sort of find ourselves in a worst case scenario and still run the operations that we run today.
Whilst these are undoubtedly impressive results, what impressions do some professionals within the space have about these financials? Investment analyst at Kgori Capital, Pelotelele Motshedisi, shares hers.
I would say it was a mixed bag of results, but then there was some noteworthy trends worth exploring. I mean, if we start with the positives, I think the reduction in the non-performing loans, it does signal improving asset quality as well as proactive risk management strategies. And then with the revenue, I mean, FNBB has had a historical, I would say, commendable trajectory, especially on the interest income and non-interest income as well. So I think from my standpoint, it reflects effective capitalization on business opportunities. Now, with concerns, or something that concerns me would be the prudent expense management, especially given the increase in expenses. I believe it was due to investment in employees and technology. I mean, I hope soon we'll start to see a much higher return on investment in that front, and I'm sure that they can do better. But indeed, these results are very positive. I was actually impressed by this new product that they brought in, which is the eWallet Pro, if I'm not mistaken. I hope it brings in more towards the non-interest income.
We know that government has been on this agenda of resuscitating the economy.
In recognizing that these challenges are also faced by different groups in the economy, the bank took to sharing some of their profits with Botswana through their Shared Prosperity Initiative. The latest beneficiaries of this being the Botswana Football Association. The bank announced a staggering 54 million Pula sponsorship to be split between the female national football team, the Mares, and the Botswana Premier League.
I stand before you with great honor as we continue a journey to enhance tangible and impactful support that is not only focused at improving football, but sports and those involved in the fraternity. This includes athletes, trainers, administrators, their families, and of course, supporters and communities in Botswana. Director of Ceremonies, allow me on behalf of FNB Botswana to announce our sponsorship for the national women's football team, the Mares, as well as the Botswana Premier League. The Mares will receive an annual sponsorship from FNB of 4.5 million annually. In total, 13.5 million for the next 3 years. The Botswana Premier League will receive a sponsorship for the period starting from 2024 season, which starts in August, of 9.5 million. In total, 28.5 million for the 3 years that we will be linked to the sponsorship. This is in total 54 million that we will be sponsoring for the next 3 years for both the Mares as well as BPL.
This program was brought to you in association with First National Bank of Botswana.